This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Good morning to you. I'm Lauren Casey. The time right now is 4:27 here. It is Wednesday, and we want to take a look at some of our top stories before we get into the newscast today, starting with several school districts across our state are going back to the classroom today. Many of those classrooms are virtual, though. A lot of districts, including Perry Township, starting today, and they're kicking things off with remote learning only for the time being. And so we know this can be really hard on families, kids, parents who are home with them, or trying to find someone to watch them if they're younger. So we're going to be talking with some experts about some tips to help get you off on the right foot when it comes to e-learning so that your student is able to focus and not fall behind. So we're going to have more on that from our Kelsey Anderson coming up this morning. We do want to take a turn to our forecast as you're heading out the door to work this morning, and take a look at these numbers on your screen. Alyssa, it is August.
Yes, it doesn't feel like August when you step outside, though, this morning. We had some gorgeous weather yesterday. We're going to see a lot of the same today, actually a little bit more sunshine to start our day. We're starting with clear skies this morning. Those clear skies allowed us to cool down a bit overnight. Low humidity still, so it's going to feel a little bit brisk when you step outside compared to some of those morning lows that we typically see. It's not cold, but it's just going to feel very different. As we head through the day, we are going to start with a little bit more sunshine, and then those clouds will increase throughout the afternoon. So since we're starting with that sunshine, that will allow us to heat up a little bit more quickly. So we'll see highs creep up just a few more degrees than what we saw yesterday, expecting a high right around 77 degrees. But for the most part, just another gorgeous day in our forecast. Dry and quiet weather. It's going to be comfortable outside. Another great day to spend some time outdoors.
Alyssa, thank you. Let's take a look at the latest numbers from the State Department of Health on the coronavirus here in Indiana. 14 new deaths were reported yesterday, bringing the death toll in our state to more than 2,700. We had 836 new cases reported, bringing the total number of positive cases in our state since March to 69,255. We're going to break those numbers down a little bit more for you coming up here on our show, what the positivity rate is and how many more people were tested in the recent days. So we'll have all that for you coming up. But the recent spike in COVID-19 cases across the state, especially here in Marion County, has made the IMS officials have to make this tough decision. No fans will be allowed in the stands at the Indianapolis 500 this year. That race was postponed from May until late in August, and they're going to be running that without fans. Fans will be able to watch at home, and anyone who bought tickets will have credit for tickets for next year's race. So we're going to have more on that and what people in Speedway, like business owners, have to say about losing the revenue from this huge event that comes to our city. I'll have more on that, plus news, weather, and traffic coming up right here on Good Morning Indiana.
This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
More central Indiana school districts are dealing with COVID-19 cases shortly after returning to in-person classes. The districts impacted and what's being done to keep staff and students safe. Other districts are going virtual for the start of the year, but that can be a big challenge for kids and their parents. We talked to an expert about tips to help your students thrive while learning at home. And a historic military building making its big move. We'll take a look at the old Fort Benjamin Harrison facility, where it's going and what it will become. But first, here on your Wednesday, I want to thank you for joining us on Good Morning Indiana. I'm Lauren Casey. Alyssa Donovan joining me in studio again today with a check of our forecast. Alyssa, yesterday was just perfect. Can we do that again today?
You know, we can, Lauren. How about that?
Okay.
We are going to see another repeat of that nice weather we saw yesterday. We're starting a little bit cooler this morning with those temperatures, and that's just because we're under this northwest flow that's helping filter in some of that cooler Canadian air right now. So we are starting in the 50s this morning. You'll notice that change when you step outside from the 60s that we were at yesterday. 57 right now in Indianapolis, lower 50s for areas to the north where that cooler air has really settled in. As we head through the morning, we might drop a couple degrees yet, and that's just because we've had those clear skies overnight, haven't had those clouds to insulate us from that cooler and drier air. The good news is that cooler and drier air is going to stick with us over the next couple days, so high pressure is going to be in control. That's going to keep us sunny for the first half of the day, and then we'll see a little bit of cumulus cloud develop as we head into the afternoon. Our highs today will be in the mid to upper 70s, and that really depends on just how much sunshine we see. If we can get that daytime heating up, then we can see those temperatures climb a few more degrees into the upper 70s.
All right, Alyssa, thank you so much. Let's take a look at traffic as you're heading out on the roads this morning. This is I-70 near County Road 700 West. This is to our east where we have ongoing construction work. This is sort of long-term work, and you can see that we have orange barrels there on the right lane of your screen. Those are traveling on I-70 and you get in the westbound lanes at 600. Just be aware that we have the left lane closed, and closer here to the downtown area. In the eastbound direction near Post Road, we have a left lane closure there as well. We'll continue to keep you updated, but it looks like everything is traveling up to speed. Let's take you up to the north side right now. A live look at I-465. This is a view near Ditch Road where traffic is traveling smoothly, both eastbound and westbound. We'll keep you updated if there are any crashes or delays, any trouble spots you need to avoid for your Wednesday morning commute. At 4:32, I want to get to the latest on the COVID-19 outbreak here in Indiana as the number of deaths and cases increases. The State Department of Health confirming 14 new deaths, more than tripling the number reported Monday. That brings the death toll to nearly 2,800 in our state. 836 new cases were also reported, bringing the state total to more than 69,000. Of those, 15,000 are from Marion County. More than 785,000 Hoosiers have been tested for the virus so far. More central Indiana school districts are dealing with cases of COVID-19 in their schools. Brownsburg Community Schools confirms one case at the high school. The district did not publicly announce if the person who tested positive is a student or staff member. Officials say that those who have had close contact with this individual are being notified. The district says the areas where the individual was has already been sanitized. And a staff member at Avon High School tested positive. Now, unlike the first case there, this person had been in the school building and may have had close contact with some students, and those people were notified separately and given guidance from the health department on their next steps. One parent who asked not to be identified tells RTV6 she feels there's a lack of accountability for keeping students and staff safe.
The health department says, we leave that up to the school officials. You contact the school officials and they say, well, we're going off the guidance of the health department. So as a parent, I really don't know what it is. So it seems like somebody bigger, like the governor, needs to step in and give some clear explanation and understanding, help us understand who's making these decisions and why when it's our children.
We spoke to the president of Avon Federation of Teachers. She is afraid more students and staff will test positive in the coming days and weeks.
We have English and world language classes that are at least 30 kids, so we are sitting elbow to elbow as if it's business as usual. And we are armed with masks and some kitchen cleaner and some hand sanitizer, and that is it.
Well, Susie Lebo there says there's no clear guidance from the district or health department on what additional steps are being taken to keep the community safe or when a full shutdown could happen. District leaders declined an interview request. We also reached out to the health department. We are waiting to hear back. Indiana's American Federation of Teachers says it supports a strike if schools cannot reopen safely. The union said that in a press conference it's backing the National Union's resolution to ensure the safety of teachers and students. Now, they represent around 4,500 educators statewide. They call for schools to not only reopen in person if COVID-19 cases are kept under control, but if teachers and staff are given adequate PPE and necessary resources like cleaning products. The union's president says that there's not a current plan to strike, but they are monitoring the reopenings day by day. And we know districts like Perry Township and Anderson will begin their school year today all online. That means students will kick off the year from home. It can be really challenging for them as well as their parents, but there are some things you can do to make things a little bit easier. So we talked to Michaela Rice, who now tutors families about e-learning. She says making sure a student's study space feels like school is important. That includes making sure it's quiet and comfortable. She says keeping a routine is also important.
Get up, put your clothes on. If you wore a uniform, put your uniform on. If you wore regular clothes, put your clothes on. Brush your teeth, have breakfast, have recess, and most of all, breathe.
Rice also encourages parents to think about putting messages and learning tools on display in the study space. She says this is especially helpful for younger students. And you can join us tomorrow night for an RTV6 special, taking a look at how Hoosier kids are heading safely back to school. We're asking lawmakers what they're doing to hold schools accountable. You can find out if your child is returning to the classroom and much more. That's coming up tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. only here on RTV6. More than 4.7 million Americans have been infected with the coronavirus, with more than a dozen states, plus Puerto Rico, seeing cases on the rise. This as the debate on whether to reopen schools rages on. In some areas that have resumed in-person classes are already seeing some students test positive. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
With 15 states plus Puerto Rico seeing a rise in coronavirus cases, some are extending restrictions. Louisiana pausing reopening plans. Mississippi's governor issuing a 2-week statewide mask mandate and new rules for students and teachers. The state currently has the highest infection rate in the country, with 98% of ICU beds filled.
Anytime a bed opens up, there are multiple patients waiting for that bed.
One of the virus's latest victims, teacher Kimberly Lopez Bird, who worked at a school in eastern Arizona. Her superintendent concerned about reopening classrooms.
I'm scared that somebody's going to die.
In Phoenix, some educators even protesting against reopening.
How do we keep them 6 feet apart? And how do we keep them safe from each other?
A second-grade classroom in Georgia shut down just 2 days after reopening because a student tested positive. Outside Atlanta, hundreds of teachers out sick.
I'm a bit concerned. I heard on the first day, half of the children are wearing their mask, the other half doesn't.
Meantime, President Trump is accused of downplaying the current state of the virus in an interview with Axios on HBO.
They are dying. That's true. And it is what it is.
Former Vice President Joe Biden out with a new campaign video calling out the president's remarks.
It is what it is.
As for relief for Americans struggling financially, Congress hopes to have an agreement on a stimulus deal by the end of this week. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
It is 4:38. A man convicted of murdering an IU student will not be getting out of prison or getting a new trial. The U.S. Court of Appeals overturned a lower court's decision to release John Myers. He's serving a 65-year prison sentence for the murder of 19-year-old Jill Bierman. Myers' attorneys argued that his trial lawyer did a poor job representing him. The appeals court agreed the lawyer was deficient, but said the state's case against Myers was too strong to overturn the verdict. Bierman disappeared in May of 2000. Her remains were found 3 years later. The Indiana State Police Department is the target of a new lawsuit. The ACLU filed it yesterday on behalf of protesters at last month's executions at the federal prison out in Terre Haute. The suit said that state police kept protesters nearly 2 miles away from the prison and claims those restrictions violated the protesters' First Amendment rights. 3 men were put to death last month in the first federal executions in 17 years. The lawsuit requests the U.S. District Court of Southern Indiana allow protesters to gather immediately outside the main entrance of the prison. More executions are set for this month and next. A spokesperson for the Indiana State Police said that it's their policy to not comment on pending litigation. A piece of history is moving to Lawrence. The Fort Bend Cultural Campus will be the new home to a historic communications building decommissioned from Fort Benjamin Harrison. The building will become a visual arts center at the campus. The group Arts for Lawrence is in the process of making this move.
We really wanted to save the building. It shows some history of Fort Harrison, which is part of the mission of the cultural campus, is to tell the history of Fort Bend through arts and cultural events and installations.
Arts for Lawrence says the building will be a home to a new gallery, art classroom, studios, and more. Construction on the Fort Bend Cultural Campus is expected to wrap up January of 2023. As the pandemic continues, there's more discussion about different protective gear. Coming up, what top health experts are saying about the pros and cons of those face shields. And the Pacers are continuing their winning ways down in Orlando. Still ahead, highlights from the record-setting performance TJ Warren had once again in the bubble. Alyssa.
And we are starting a little cool this morning. Temperatures in the low 50s across much of central Indiana. We're going to warm up and have a nice, comfortable, beautiful day today. I'll have the details coming up.
Welcome back. The time right now is 4:44. This is I-70, a little west of Lyndhurst Drive. On the west side, you can see everything's traveling up to speed, both eastbound and westbound. We'll continue to keep a close eye on your roads throughout the morning and let you know if there are any crashes or delays. So a conversation about wearing different protective gear is expanding, in particular over those face shields. So teachers recently asked the top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, about them. He said they aren't a bad idea, but they shouldn't be worn in place of a mask. Experts say there isn't a lot of research on how protective face shields are. One study showed that it reduces the number of inhaled droplets, but unlike cloth masks, it might not protect others as well. If you do wear a face shield, it should follow these guidelines.
It's important that it's long enough to really protect the whole face and that it wraps around fully and that it fits well up at the forehead.
Well, companies including Apple, Nike, GM, and John Deere have all started producing these face shields. Face shields do have some advantages over the masks. They can be reused indefinitely, they're easier to clean, and they help prevent touching the face. At 4:45, with the added threat of the coronavirus, health officials are pushing Americans to get their flu shot early this year. Flu shots will start being available at doctors' offices, pharmacies, and supermarkets by early next month. Health experts say it's a good idea to get it early because there may be some added obstacles this year. People who usually get the shot at the office may be working from home, and those who get it from the doctor may have a longer wait time for an appointment. The Food and Drug Administration has approved a new treatment for people who are having serious thoughts about suicide. The agency approved the nasal spray Spravato as an antidepressant medication. It's the first and only approved drug that's shown to reduce suicidal and depressive symptoms within 24 hours of taking it. The drug maker says it does not know if Spravato is effective in preventing suicide, but it's not a substitute for hospitalization and clinical treatments. The Census Bureau is cutting its restored efforts short for the 2020 survey. It comes after a call from the president to do so. Americans now have until the end of September to respond instead of the originally planned end of October date. The Bureau says it's so they can meet the end of year deadlines to redraw congressional districts. Researchers and politicians worry that the new deadline could affect the accuracy of the head count. Well, it was a story that gripped millions around the world. On this day 10 years ago, 33 Chilean miners became trapped in more than 2,000 feet underground. For weeks, authorities were unable to communicate with them until they received note, quote, "We are fine in the shelter, the 33 of us." The rescuers were able to send food and water to the miners and eventually cameras so they could communicate with their families and the rest of the world. They were finally rescued after 69 days. I can't believe that was 10 years ago.
It doesn't feel like it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I was thinking, is that a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Wow, what a story there. Pretty cool. Okay, so Alyssa, today in our forecast, it doesn't feel quite like August, but it's kind of a welcome change.
Yeah, it feels a little more fall-like, similar to what we saw yesterday. We're going to see those temperatures a little cooler to start and a little bit warmer to finish. But besides that, a lot of similarities to our forecast yesterday. We're going to reverse the clouds, though. We're going to start with some clear skies and see a little bit more cloud coverage by the afternoon. Really just another great day on tap. We're just continuing to see this stretch of nicer weather. We have that low humidity in the forecast and sunshine. And then as we head into the weekend, that's when we're going to see the next chance of some storms. We're also going to start building that humidity back into the forecast Saturday and Sunday. Right now, though, 57 degrees in Indianapolis. We have clear skies. That humidity is low. That dew point is low. And those winds are light out of the north. Those northerly winds are why we are seeing those temperatures a little bit cooler this morning. That has been helping usher in that cooler northerly air along with that high pressure that's in control today. So we're about 7 degrees different than this time yesterday in Indianapolis, but much cooler to the north where we've dropped about 12 degrees in Peru, 10 degrees in Lafayette. So a big difference as you step outside today. Since we don't have that humidity, you're really going to notice that 10 to 15 degree change across the area. Now, Hurricane Isaias has moved way out of the area. That's now impacting Canada. The U.S. is in the clear for now, and so are we here in Indianapolis. What's happening next is that cold front that moved through is a thing of the past, and now we have that high pressure in control, and we are under this northwesterly flow. So what that's doing is it's helping usher in that cooler air from the north, and it's also helped clear out those skies overnight, which has allowed us to cool way down today. As we start our day, we're starting with clear and sunny skies this morning. It is going to be a beautiful start to our day. You are definitely going to want to spend some time outside at some point today because it's just going to be comfortable and pleasant. As we head into the noon hour, we'll continue to see plenty of sunshine. By the afternoon, we will start to develop just a little bit of cloud coverage, but nothing that's going to put a cramp in any afternoon plans either. We're not expecting any precipitation, just continuing to see a little bit more cloud coverage. Now, as we head through the day, if we see those clouds sort of hold up and not accumulate as quickly, we could see those temperatures climb more quickly as well. But right now, as it's sitting, expecting to see those highs in the mid to upper 70s across the area, those clouds increasing, and just a comfortable day on tap. Continuing to see those nice conditions Thursday and Friday, and you can see we're climbing a couple degrees each day, and that is because of that daytime heating. We're seeing a little bit more sunshine each day, so we'll be into the mid 80s by Friday, which is where we should be this time of year, so we're getting there. And then by Saturday, we're going to start building in more humidity. That sunshine sticking with us Saturday. By Saturday night, showers and storms move in, continuing to see those chances to start next week.
All right, Alyssa, thank you so much. Let's take a look at traffic for your commute. This is I-65 and Keystone Avenue. This is on the near south side of town, and this is an area where we've had that ongoing construction, a major traffic shift in the northbound lanes. That this morning is going to look a little bit different. It's less of a traffic shift, and you just shift slightly, and then you continue basically in a straight line. So a little bit less of a traffic shift, and the southbound side is still in the same area as it was, so northbound is shifted back to the northbound side. Also keep in mind we have a report of some debris in the road in this area, so just use caution as you're traveling south of downtown this morning. Let's take a look at right now over to the west side, I-465, a view here near Crawfordsville Road. Traffic is picking up, as you can see by all the headlights there. No issues to slow you down. So a former Michigan State University gymnastics coach will spend some time in prison in connection to team doctor Larry Nassar's abuse of young athletes. Kathy Klagels was sentenced to 3 months in jail and 18 months for probation for lying to police during the investigation. In impact statements, 2 of Nassar's victims said they told Klagels about the abuse, and that was more than 20 years ago. Klagels apologized during the hearing, but reiterated she doesn't remember having those conversations. Well, the Pacers are continuing their success in the bubble last night. They won their 3rd straight game after restarting the season. Last night, they took on the Orlando Magic. Pacers standout TJ Warren led the team again in scoring with 32 points. He now has the league high in the bubble with 119 points. That also ties the team's all-time 3-game record. 5 other Pacers finished in the double digits, including Victor Oladipo, who was off on Monday. It was Indiana's game all the way with a final score 120-109. The Pacers are now 42-26, and their next game is against Phoenix tomorrow. A young boy up in Boone County given a big surprise from his local law enforcement. After the break, a special honor he now holds as part of the sheriff's office. And disappointing news for race fans, as the Indy 500 will be held with empty stands. Coming up new at 5, how organizers and fans are reacting to this decision weeks before that big race. It's 4:52. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. A 10-year-old is now officially part of the Boone County Sheriff's Office. Caleb Anderson is battling an autoimmune disease, and he has a love for law enforcement. He says he hopes he can be a canine handler when he grows up. In a special ceremony, Sheriff Mike Nielsen surprised Caleb by swearing him in as a special deputy. Caleb also got to meet some of the canine deputies, and he was given his own uniform and tactical boots, and he looks great. I hope he becomes a canine handler. That is awesome. Good for him.
The forecast is also awesome today. I don't want to brag too much, but I think you're going to enjoy this. We are going to see those temperatures starting a little cool this morning. We're in the 50s across the area. As we head through the day, though, we are going to see plenty of sunshine to start. Clouds will increase by the afternoon. 77 degrees for the high, so a little bit below average. That humidity and chances of storms return as we head into the weekend.